The U.S. Food and Drug Administration has finally given the go-ahead for Elon Musk's brain implant company Neuralink to begin its first human clinical trial. Let it sink in. Not only is this a big deal for Neuralink, but it's also an amazing new opportunity for the field of neuroscience. Brain-computer interfaces are nothing new. It's been around since the 90s. But the approach taken by Neuralink's invasive BCI implant is entirely new. The company's use of modern technology to create ultra-high bandwidth interfaces directly into the cerebral cortex is light years ahead of anything that has come before. The window of opportunity for Neuralink to change the world has opened, and here's how they're going to do it. On May 25, Neuralink announced via its Twitter account that it had received FDA approval to begin its first human clinical trial. While this doesn't necessarily mean that people's skulls can be opened immediately, it is an important first step in this very important journey. The FDA confirmed in a statement that the agency had granted Neuralink permission to conduct research on patients using its brain implants and surgical robots, but declined to provide further details. This is a moment that has been 7 years in the making. The startup, founded by Musk in 2016, has a grand vision of curing all brain diseases, reversing spinal cord injuries and correcting disabilities, and connecting the human brain with artificial intelligence to prevent a Terminator-style apocalypse. But we're not going there today. The wait for this approval appears to be much longer, as back in 2019, Elon predicted that human trials would be underway soon, and then, in what became his annual event this year. But at the official Neuralink show and tell event on November 30th, Elon and his team took the stage and promised that the FDA would approve the product within the next 6 months. It turns out that's pretty accurate, and the FDA's statement actually surprised us a little. After reading a special report published by Reuters on March 2nd, the report specifically stated that the FDA had rejected Neuralink's application for human trials due to safety concerns. And from what is said in the article, it seems like the company is basically dead. In the several thousand-word article, Reuters cited more than a dozen unnamed sources who claimed to be current and former Neuralink employees. According to their uncited report, Neuralink was a largely unsafe, recklessly busy work environment littered with dead animals. Obviously, from our perspective, I have no way of knowing what's going on. But either the Reuters article was based on weird, inaccurate accounting, or the FDA simply didn't care and approved the technology. That's all we're going to say, because honestly it doesn't matter. Regardless of what may or may not have happened behind the scenes, Neuralink is now ready to move into the next phase of development. We just have to wait and see how it plays out and let the results speak for themselves. We don't know the details of the clinical trial yet, but we have indications that up to 10 patients, the maximum number of patients, will be enrolled in the trial, selected based on their specific physical disability or disease. It is important to remember that the equipment and associated surgical procedures are new and therefore dangerous. There is no way around this problem. All volunteers taking part in testing must determine that the risk of death or further injury remains greater than the risk of remaining in their current condition. Neuralink says their first practical applications will be relatively simple. The aim is to allow people with total paralysis to control electronic devices, such as computers or smartphones, using only their thoughts. Neuralink has successfully demonstrated this concept in animal experiments with macaque monkeys. In April 2021, Neuralink debuted the Mind Pong Monkey Pager, where they showed that a completely normal, healthy-looking monkey could play simple video games simply using a wireless connection between its brain and computer. Then, 2 years later, on April 18, Neuralink posted a screenshot on Twitter of what it said was a demonstration of the same monkey, Pager, still alive and well and using a new and improved Neuralink implant perform operations. In the video, the company says the pager once again just uses its mind to wirelessly control the movement of the screen cursor and click on the blue box. Neuralink writes that monkeys can already use a mouse with 88% of the accuracy of an average human. So if Neuralink can achieve this just by training monkeys, the possibilities for human users may go even further. Neuralink theorizes that people using the device can actually control their smartphones better than people using their hands. But this is still only a small part of Neuralink's true capabilities. Existing brain-computer interface technology can be divided into two concepts, invasive and non-invasive. You may have seen non-invasive brain-computer interfaces. It's like a weird hat with a bunch of electrode sensors. This can read electrical signals in the brain, but not particularly well. To establish a good connection with the brain, we need invasive brain-computer interfaces. The current industry standard for invasive BCI is the so-called Utah array. It's a square computer chip with a series of small electrode tips protruding from it. So what they do is they cut out a piece of your skull, insert the Utah array into the outer layer of your brain, and then attach a tiny computing device directly to your head that connects to the array on one end and has a large the wire comes out the other end. They usually have to do this twice, so you have two spikes in your brain and two computer boxes with wires sticking out of your head. It sounds scary, but it's very effective. The best example I have seen so far is the story of Gurchan Oskam. This guy was injured in a motorcycle accident 12 years ago and was paralyzed from the waist down. However, thanks to brain-computer interface technology, he was recently able to walk again. In Mr. Osborne's case, electrode arrays were inserted into both hemispheres of his brain and connected to two devices he wore on a headband. These brain sensors were then connected to a device on Oskam's walker, which was then connected to a second electrode array implanted in his spine. A computer placed between the two implants uses machine learning to decode neural signals from the brain, then converts them into electrical stimulation that is transmitted to the spinal cord and triggers the desired muscle movement. While the current state of this technology is amazing, there are some significant drawbacks and serious limitations. Even researchers who studied Oskam's case say the brain-spine interface is actually limited to simple movements like walking and cannot restore more complex functions like arm and hand movement. Neuralink aims to take this proven concept and maximize its effectiveness through advanced technology. Therefore, all devices worn on the patient's head were replaced with Neuralink N1 implants. Elon likes to describe the device as a Fitbit inside your skull, which is actually pretty accurate. Neuralink recruited engineers from the wearable tech industry to help develop the N1's Bluetooth connectivity and wireless charging system. But Neuralink's real game-changer is the design of its electrode wires. Instead of the rigid metal tips used in the past, Neuralink threads are thinner than a human hair and as flexible as threads. Currently, the N1 device is connected to 64 individual wires, each carrying 16 electrodes, for a total of 1,024 communication channels between the implant and the brain. This is a direct, extremely high bandwidth connection to the brain that is needed to restore these more complex body movements to people with total paralysis. Neuralink shared this image on Twitter on April 11th, showing off the tip of their wire. It's difficult to understand what we're seeing here because this picture is only possible with an electron microscope. There is a small hole at the tip for the surgical needle to pass through the wire. This tip is very small, only about the width of a few red blood cells. Individual electrode contacts that detect neuron activity protrude above it on the right. Here, each electrode is also about 2 blood cells wide. It's incredibly small, and that's where the sewing machine robot R1 comes into play. He had to insert this tiny wire directly into the brain matter. It doesn't have to go very deep, it's only about a millimeter. However, this must be done very quickly and very accurately. The electrodes must be as close as possible to the target neurons, but they must also not hit any blood vessels that pass through the cerebral cortex. There's a lot of that, and it has to be done on a moving target, too. Remember, your brain is constantly pulsing with your heartbeat. So the R1 actually has a very advanced aiming system that allows it to place lines accurately and safely. Currently, the R1 uses a combination of camera video feeds and optical lasers to position the needle. So far, this is possible, as Neuralink has built a dual operating room at its headquarters in Austin, Texas, where the first human tests of the N1 Link and R1 robots will take place. However, the company's goal in the near future is to create its own medical clinics that can treat multiple patients. Therefore, it may or may not be in development now. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a like today. This is important in getting more people to access our content. Thanks for watching and see you in the next part.